Hello, everyone, and welcome to another installment of TEDXcellence, the show in which I expose myself to interesting people standing on red circles saying interesting things that I might learn something. I hope. Time and time again, I hope. And hope springs eternal. Just like me in my Corona bunker on the moon with Dogcat Fox, a Pepperjack, and all of you. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wednesday. It's Wednesday, wonderful Wednesday. I hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. Oh boy. Well, this one is a little bit, I suppose, timely, kind of, sort of, depending on how you look at it, current events. We'll get to that in a moment, because first, say hello to all of you who have joined me for today's adventure. Humble Clay, hello. John Miller, hello. Black Belt for Christ, hello. Tarkata, hello. Sunundium Nation, hello. Grizzle McThornbody, hello. Nothing for You Here, hello. Midday Sun, hello. Nassos, hello. Viror of Ashmedai, hello. Attack Alpaca, hello. Molly Mags, 53, hello. Becca Fairley, hello. Spyro Girl, hello. The Luke Skywalker 2, hello. Anna Clark, hello. Mike Savage, Blarg. Crimson Tiger, hello. Foxy Veritas, hello. Rich at Art, hello. Holy cats, everybody. King Slayer Damocles, hello. All right. That one servant of Satania, hello. As everybody trickles in bit by bit. I'm curious. Are you getting notifications through YouTube finally? That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Non-Vitae Rex, hello. Mike R, hello. All right, guys, so a bit of a note. The link to the bingo card is in the video description. This is the revised bingo card from Frosted Glass, so it's a little bit different than before. I will go over it quickly so we can get into the show, so there's an understanding of what we're looking for over the course of the show. So click on the link. What you see is bingo, and starting up from the top left-hand corner and working our way back and forth from there. Plays victim, school to prison pipeline, white supremacy, childhood or family anecdote, microaggressions, rape culture, equity, attempt to coin a new buzzword or buzz phrase, I'm open to that as well, takes credit for something done by others in their demographic, systemic, toxic, anecdote that probably never happened, leaves out vital context, speaker should not be in current occupation or position, patriarchy, wage gap, make something about race, sex, etc. for no reason, privilege, marginalization / marginalized, or vice versa thereof, makes a racist comment, word salad, baffles or triggers scribe in the first 30 seconds, cultural appropriation, and gratuitous pausing for effect. So, as of this recording, at least, we have yet to achieve a single bingo on TEDx Bingo. We've come close, at least in the first outing, but not so far. I can only imagine what would have happened in some of the past ones we've done, but oh well. So yeah, Graph Spree, hello. Gear PG, hello. Dookie Shoes, hello. John Smith, hello. I think that's everybody. If I missed you, Richo8181, hello. All right, guys, so get your bingo cards ready. What is today's conversation? Well, I kind of gave it away in the title, because the title of the presentation is Bad White People. So I'm curious to find out if I'm one of those. I suppose our speaker will tell us. So as usual, I will start off by playing a few seconds of the video for a sound test. You guys tell me if you can hear it. If you can, we will proceed. If you can't, I'll have to fiddle with some stuff, like technical stuff. Not anyway. Here we go.
Several years ago, I went to see comedian Kamau Bell perform, and as a part of his act, he did something like a racial roll call to get the crowd warmed up.
A racial roll call. And there's a drink on a stool. This looks suspiciously like a comedy special. Also, there is an echo to this recording. You get used to it after a minute or two. I haven't watched too much of this. I just wanted to check and make sure the whole thing wasn't completely inaudible, but it is understandable. I tried to take out some of the extraneous echo, but you can't do too much. Thank you, Point Curation. Bingo was Zahir's Namo. Zir's Namo. Oh, bingo was Zir's Namo. Okay. Ha. All right. Sounds good to everyone. All right. So let us continue. So Kamau Bell wanted to do a racial roll call. Kamau Bell is a comedian, I guess, also a commentator and somebody who's been on CNN several times. Had his own show. I think the first episode of his own show, he visited a Ku Klux Klan rally. I did a video with Kamau Bell. I think it was called "For Whom the Bell Tolls," or something like that, or "For Whom Kamau Bell Tolls." I forget. Anyway.
So he started out and he said, "Any black people in the house tonight?" There was claps and cheers. And he said, "If you're black in here tonight and you're proud, I want you to put your fist in the air and yell Black Power." And all the black people in attendance, with unison and with pride, they put their fists in the air and they yelled Black Power.
Wow, that sounds creepy, doesn't it? I wonder what the next part is.
And then he said, "What about Latinos? Any Latinos in the house?" And there was claps and cheers. And he said, "If you're Latino in here tonight and you're proud, put your fist in the air and yell Latino Power." Same thing.
Yeah, and then?
All the Latinos in unison with pride, they put their fist in the air and yelled, Latino Power. And then Kamau said, "Any white people in the house tonight?" And there was a few claps, and he said, "If you're white in here tonight and you're proud, I want you to put your fist in the air and yell, White Power."
Yeah, that's an interesting illustration about racial supremacy and how it really is ridiculous, no matter who's saying it, isn't it?
And there was silence. Now, after a few seconds...
That is funny. That is funny, right? Because why would they do that? Because, fill in blank color power is what? Well, it's racial identity. It's racial supremacy. Or investing some kind of magic into your skin color in the absence of any other merit. That's not a very progressive notion, is it? Is it?
There was laughter, but I'll never forget that silence. Because that choice that Kamau created in a matter of seconds, white people have been making for the last 60 years. To either be identified with racist white people who scream white power, or to be good white people and distance ourselves through silence.
Wait a second. Wait a second. Okay, well, first off, he's talking about a comedian, right? So the guy was making a joke. All right, it illustrated something. I don't necessarily think it illustrated what he wanted it to illustrate, but our speaker here has now said, oh, do we want to confront it by yelling out white power, or do we want to distance ourselves with silence? Well, what is a white person supposed to do in that situation? What move in that game, by our speaker's estimation, is the morally righteous move? To scream out white power or to be silent? Because it sure sounds to me like no matter what someone does in that circumstance, they're doing it wrong. So, yeah.
But that's a false moral choice.
Is it?
People are too messy and racism is too complex and the stakes are too high for such simplistic thinking.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad to hear that you recognize the simplicity and sort of the Kafka trap that you set up there, if that's what you're doing. All right. So tell us some more complex thinking on the issue.
After the laughter died down, Kamau got serious for a second. He said something I'll never forget. He said, white people, you gotta find better ways to speak about being white in the world, or other white people are gonna speak up for you, and they may not be the people you want representing you in the world.
White people do not represent other white people. White people represent themselves, and people who represent people are elected into office. Anybody who says otherwise is lying. Also, if I wanted to watch a Kamau Bell comedy routine, I'd be watching Kamau Bell. Do you have any of your own material by any chance? Or are you just going to keep stealing from a black man? Oh, that sounds really bad when I said it that way, doesn't it?
So I want to speak to you today about two things, the kinds of white people that might be representing you in the world. And
they are not representing me in the world unless I voted for them. Now, and well, admittedly, even if I didn't vote for them, but they are elected to a position that puts them in representation of me in some fashion as a constituent. So we're already on to a first false premise there. Let's see. Now, does this count for anything on the thing? Well, he hasn't said white supremacy yet. Systemic equity, rape culture. I don't see anything so far that technically hits a bingo. But something's wrong with Scribe. He's cranky. I'm cranky? I'm not cranky. I'm just, I just got out of work for the time being. I got to go back to work after this. So, yeah, maybe I'm a little cranky.
Two things, the kinds of white people that might be representing you in the world, and then inspiration to find your voice so that you can begin speaking back to them.
First, assuming, again, that there are people that are speaking for me simply on the basis of a racial similarity. And then I have to speak out against people who look like me that I don't agree with, or else they're speaking for me and their voice overrides mine, even though my voice is not going to override theirs because we're both white, right? Or I must be misunderstanding something.
I've spent big parts of my life letting other people do my thinking for me, but when I started rebelling against that silence by thinking for myself, I tapped into something powerful.
You think for yourself by starting out by repeating someone else's work. Good show.
I was familiar with. You see, I've always been or had a rebellious spirit. Growing up, I wasn't good at sports or academics or the arts. But for as long as I can remember, I was voted class clown. So I was great at challenging authority and asking questions when I wasn't supposed to. And I love disrupting silent spaces with humor.
Okay, childhood or family anecdote. Well, this is a childhood anecdote, so I'm circling that. Continuing.
And since I wasn't paying attention to the lesson of the class, I had lots of time to pay attention to the people in it.
Okay.
And I've been people watching ever since.
So you're a stalker. Oh, wait.
And it's in that same spirit that I want to encourage you today to be good troublemakers in your thinking, or what I'm calling bad white people.
Bad white people. Okay, so bad white people are the disruptors, right? Bad white people are the ones that you want to be like, because to be a standard operating normally white person, okay, I see where we're going with this.
Now, I know some of you might already be looking for the exits in the room with all this talk about white people.
Yeah, being accused implicitly of being inherently racially biased or racist or evil or flawed simply on the basis of something that I have no control over and is not determinative of my character. No, it's fine. Please continue. Tell me more about your racial prejudice.
Because if I've learned anything over the years, there's one thing white people hate to be called more than a racist, and it's white people. Yeah. Right?
Well, I don't know about that. But, I mean, if you mean it as a condescension to anything else about me and making assumptions about my personality, my character, my value as a human being simply on the basis of my skin color, yeah, that might be a little irritating. I don't know. You think anybody else in history has ever felt bad about being reduced down to nothing but your skin color? You think that's ever been a thing? Ever?
I was reminded of this recently. I was tweeting about how white people needed to get better at understanding racism when a white person tweeted me, "You're one to talk." And then she went all caps, so I knew I was in trouble. White boy?
And she had a point, didn't she? If you are existing in the reality you are professing.
You see, I have broken the white code of silence on naming white people as also a racial group.
No, you were pretending as though you were somehow I don't know, separate from the criticisms you were making? That if you are to include all white people into your suspicions and your degradations, that you avoid it somehow? That you yourself don't put yourself into question as a result of this? Maybe?
I was being a bad white person.
Okay.
So let me be clear. Yes, I am a white boy.
No. I'll keep it family friendly for the moment. No kidding.
In fact, I'm what sociologists call a really white boy.
What does that mean?
I was born in an all-white dairy farming town in upstate New York, and I grew up in mostly white suburb schools and churches up the road in Union County.
Uh-huh.
I've had a mullet. I wear flip-flops in the winter. I play frisbee golf. And yes, I let dogs kiss me on the mouth.
Okay, as a TEDx talk, he's definitely more energetic and upbeat than most of the TEDx talks I watch. As a comedian, no. I mean, my sister does stand-up comedy. I've seen a lot of comics now in my day, both professional, novice, and so on. And if that was his gist here, so far, flatlining. But okay.
But when I talk about whiteness today, I don't just mean having white skin.
Whoa, you don't. Whiteness does not just mean having white skin. Oh, okay. Well, do tell.
I mean what James Baldwin meant when he said that our identities are like clothes that we wear to cover the nakedness of the self.
So again, I'll be kind. You're borrowing the ideas of a black person to express yourself. White boy. Okay. Thank you, Point Curation. Feeling ready for Clown World to end. Yeah, I am too. This is Kyle. Thank you. Yes, I hate being called a white person because I'm not a white person. I'm Kyle. That's why my internet name is This is Kyle. I'm not my hair or skin color. I'm Kyle, for heaven's sake. Yeah, that's one of the failings of racial identity. You eliminate yourself in the process. You know, if you practice it in any way, shape, or form, if you put that first and foremost as what people should pay attention to, then why should I care who you are if what you are is all that matters? Yeah. But anyway, so yeah, whiteness isn't just about skin color. It's a cloak you wear. Okay, so are there Latino people who practice whiteness then? Or black people that practice whiteness if it's not about skin color? I'm curious.
You see, we don't just have races, we wear them.
No, we have them. Wearing something at least implies you have the option to take it off. Okay. Now, is he going to be telling me that all name your color people act a certain way? Because, you know, that sounds a little racist.
To make sense of ourselves and the world. And like clothing, we sometimes grow accustomed to the fabric and we forget that we're wearing them. So if you're non-white here today, we need you too.
Oh, wow. How inclusive of you.
Because more often than not, you can see how we're wearing our whiteness better than we can.
Oh. Okay, so if you're not white, you have a special insight into the value of someone who is white because you're not white. Because skin color is the most important thing, regardless of anything else about a person. Okay.
So I want to encourage all of us today to wear our whiteness robes loosely so that we might see them and feel them for what they are and ourselves for what we might become.
Right, because if you're white and you're not thinking about your skin color all the time, you are the lowliest of the low. If only you could achieve your potential as a white person by acknowledging your whiteness. What was that again about the joke about someone screaming out white power?
Because as Baldwin says, it's trust in one's nakedness is all that gives one the power to change one's robe.
Oh.
Now, since we're being class clowns in our thinking, I want to use a typical classroom as a metaphor for looking at the robes of whiteness.
We're not being class clowns in our thinking, but you just told us that you are. Don't assume things about your audience and what they're thinking. Oh, well, I mean, you're trying to be a comedian, so. Okay.
And I want to encourage all of you to sit in the back of the room and be willing to look with new eyes. Be willing to challenge those voices speaking for you. And be looking for your own voice along the way.
Yeah, when someone says something who's white, and I just defer to them. Yeah, I say nothing back. I don't criticize. I don't deconstruct. I don't critique. I don't put forth any skepticism. When somebody white says something who's in a position of authority over me, yeah, I am so silent. I just let them speak for me. That's what I do. Oh, wait, what am I? What? I'm talking back to this guy. It's almost like I found my voice somehow to not let this guy speak for me, or to underscore any notion that he speaks for anyone but himself. Thank you, tall person. Hoy, I can't watch now, but I will watch in full later. Happy National Black Cow Day, everybody. Black cow is another name for a root beer float. Oh, I did not know. When was the last time I had a root beer float? I can't recall. It's been a very long time. My sister's a big root beer fan. I don't mind it, but I don't go after it. Anyway, thank you for this aside.
Now, the first characters you are familiar with, white bullies. Now, bullies wear their whiteness to try to cover their badness in the world, to try to make themselves feel better than others.
Oh, like you. Oh, wait. No, you're not a bully. You're not telling everybody in the audience with the wrong skin color that they inherently need to make themselves better because by default they're bad. I'm sorry. By default they're good white people and they need to be bad white people like you. Now, there's no bullying going on here. So tell me about white bullies.
They practice a more violent version of what comedians call punching down.
Really? Punching down, you say? All right.
Taking the easy way out by attacking those below them, avoiding the hard work of finding themselves, or punching up at the violence that produced them.
Oh, punching down at the good white people that you're not and are obviously lower than you are because you're so much more enlightened? That kind of punching down from the reality that you're living in?
You see, racism is ultimately a sickness of the soul. So white bullies from the KKK to internet trolls, they wear whiteness like a mask.
Oh.
Hiding from themselves in order to hurt others.
Right. Okay. KKK and internet trolls. The KKK and internet trolls are on equal footing in your mind. Wow. Okay.
But not only do bullies attack easy targets, but they are triggered by those who threaten to expose their smallness in the world.
Oh.
Like many of you, I've been inspired by the protests we've seen around the world in recent years. And when I've spoken up about the love and the courage I saw in the faces of the protesters from our city, facing off with an army of police and soldiers armed with tear gas and guns and tanks, I had forgotten about the bully rule of punching down.
Okay.
But white people from my past quickly reminded me, confused and angry, that I would also be outraged at injustice and inspired by the protesters.
What?
You see, I was being a bad white person.
You were being a bad white person for caring about protests? Because white people... I mean, all I can take from this is that in this person's mind, default white people are heartless, uncaring racists. But he's a bad white person because he's not heartless and he's not uncaring and he's totally not a racist. Now, let me tell you why white people are inherently flawed. Because they're white.
And as a class clown, what always bothered me about bullies was that instead of dealing with their pain through friendship, they took it out on the rest of us.
Oh, kind of like telling an entire audience full of white people that they're inherently flawed because you're uncomfortable with the fact that you're white. You feel guilty over the fact that you're white. You're trying to tell everybody as loud and as hard as you can, I'm totally not a racist, guys. I'm a good white person. I mean, I'm a bad white person and that I'm not a good white person. Like that, sort of, kind of.
And it's the same with white bullies today. Their anger is real. It just isn't true. And they're mailing that anger into the wrong address, and there's a multi-billion-dollar outrage industry on YouTube, talk radio, and political platforms waiting to cash in the checks of white anger.
Well, I'll agree with you. There is an outrage industry. There is a very, very profitable outrage industry going on right now. And certainly, white people are profiting from it. But so are everybody else who gets their foot into it. If you can make yourself a figure of outrage, you will have a Patreon, you will have a GoFundMe, and so on. Now, I want to clarify, being a little less facetious for a second, that not every person who one might consider part of outrage culture is inherently in it for the profit. Okay? I do believe and I do understand there are people out there who are, well-intended in their outrage. They may not see what it is they're actually asking for in the passion of it all, but there are a lot of people out there who are true believers, who do not mean badly, who think they're doing the right thing and are not out for the profit. They think they're trying to make a change. It's the Dr. Doom paradox I brought up before. You know, Dr. Doom is a supervillain to everybody but Dr. Doom, because Dr. Doom knows his intentions are pure. I mean, depending on who's writing him. But yeah, no, there is a great deal of wealth to be gained from leveraging outrage. And our speaker here is a part of that, whether he wants to admit to it or not. Thank you, the Eufio answer. I hope I said that right. I'm surprised you didn't know internet trolls type with white hoods on. When I'm about to troll somebody, I have to think, where is my white hood? Yeah, I know, right? The KKK and internet trolls writ large, they're on the exact same page, guys. Although I'll bet you internet trolls far outnumber any membership count the KKK could ever hope to achieve. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. Seems like this guy has never met a metaphor he didn't like. Yeah, I mean, I wish the metaphors were on the bingo chart, because so far he's dodged a whole bunch of stuff I thought he would have said already. We might be getting near a word salad. I don't know, but he's been fairly clear so far.
And this isn't new. In fact, white anger has been big business in America since our founding. It's what historians call the wages of whiteness. We're working class.
Historians call the wages of whiteness. You want to name off who and how many historians call it the wages of whiteness? Just curious if that's a technical, is that an academic term from someone other than a social studies class and some liberal arts college?
Anger has been big business in America since our founding. Yeah. It's what historians call the wages of whiteness. Where working class whites traded in their pain and anger for the temporary relief of feeling bigger than their black and brown neighbors. But it's bad business.
Okay. Outrage, no matter what your skin color, especially in today's climate, let's say, is never bad business. It's always worth a shot, if that's what you want to go for. I mean, if you want attention, if you want fundraising, if you want leverage politically and so on. This was recorded quite a while back, I think at least a year ago. So our speaker here is not speaking about or in the context of current events. But all the same, there's a lot to be gained from it, and there's very little risk to it so far as I've seen. Thank you, the Eufio answer. I'm a historian. No historian has ever said that. Yeah, I don't. as historians say. I mean, this guy likes to borrow either directly or implicitly from other people in his points. I guess that's cultural appropriation. Now, he hasn't said it, but I may allow for that bingo spot to be taken if he does it again.
Fear and anger are two of our most primal emotions, so we should guard them vigilantly. The fact that people are profiting off your pain without a peep about love or solidarity, that should raise some flags. In fact, if you want something to be angry about, there's a start. Now,
that was an applause line. Wow, you know, this crowd might be dyed in the wool on the side of this guy. So is he preaching to the choir, or are they clapping because they're trying to be good white people? That's a good question, isn't it? Kind of circles back on itself if you think about it too hard. And I do.
Because bullies have often worn their whiteness loudest in the world, they've often received the most attention, but it's really been white hall monitors, standing quietly in the front of the class, taking names who played the larger role in the history of whiteness.
Yeah, taking names of people and tattletelling and everything. Yeah, that's totally bound by racial restrictions, you know. I'm surprised he hasn't brought up Trump yet. I mean, maybe we'll get there. Maybe he'll avoid it. I don't know.
So whereas bullies wear whiteness to feel good, hall monitors wear whiteness to get goods. These are goods white people, but here goodness is not about the character of the person, but about making good deals.
Okay, I'm calling that word salad. That was rattled off way too quick and makes very little sense. So I'm going to fill up free space. So right now, I've got childhood or family anecdote, free space, and word salad. If that wasn't a word salad, I don't know what is at this point.
It's replacing the golden rule with the rule of gold. And the way you get goods as a hall monitor is not by being your brother's keeper, but by keeping your brother out.
Oh.
Whiteness here is worn like a stiff collared shirt.
Oh.
President Eisenhower explained this. Speaking about white Southern parents during desegregation, he said, "These are not bad people. All they're concerned about is that their sweet little girls are not required to sit in school alongside some big black bucks."
Wow, did Eisenhower say that? Eisenhower said that. Like what, back in the 40s, the 50s? Wow. And you know, attitudes, laws, none of those things have changed since Eisenhower. You got anything better than Eisenhower, for crying out loud?
The emphasis there is not on the hatred of the black students, but on the goods for the sweet little girls.
And that sentiment is as true today as it was in the time of Eisenhower. Is that what I am to understand?
You see, when your goodness is confused with goods, your world becomes like a game of Monopoly and your neighbor just another piece on the board.
Okay, again, word salad. If we had more than one space, I'd go there.
All space becomes your space, all time, all goods, your goods.
Yeah, Johnny Hellcat, thank you. They were just applauding the mental gymnastics. I could understand that. Maybe. Kind of.
The hall monitor ethic says, we're going to destroy your neighborhood to build a highway through it, but not because we hate you, but because we love short commutes.
Are we about to have an argument about eminent domain? Because I'm happy to have an argument about eminent domain. Sometimes it makes sense, oftentimes it doesn't, but I have a feeling we're not having an argument about eminent domain.
Or we're going to give you subprime loans for your house, but not because we hate you, because we love high interest rates.
Yeah, and who is getting those high interest rate subprime loans? Oh yeah, everybody. They were signing up everybody. They didn't care about your race. They just cared that they got your signature, that they could bundle you up and sell you off. Oh boy. Thank you, Drew W. Ike desegregated the military. Oh, Drew, don't bring up history or anything. Don't bring up any counterpoints. He said Eisenhower said a racist thing. And it was a racist thing, you know, and that doesn't change. Nothing he did counts otherwise, and anything that we've done since then doesn't count. Eisenhower.
Or we're going to build our own schools, taking the best teachers and resources, not because we hate your children, but because of our sweet little girls.
And that's how we all operate, huh? That's what good white people do. Is that it? Okay.
And there's a common thread connecting hall monitors of the past saying you can't vote yet, get an education now, or eat in my restaurant, to the hall monitors of today.
Whoa, what is the connection? What is the connection between how people acted in Eisenhower's time and how people act today? What is that connection?
Policing people walking down my streets, barbecuing in my park, kneeling during my anthem.
Oh boy, kneeling. Like I said, this was recorded about a year ago, I think, thereabouts, something like that. Some sentiments don't change, even if the times do.
This is not about hatred. It's about goods.
Is it? Because you sound like you really hate white people. Oh, sorry, yourself.
As a class clown who largely saw school as a place to laugh and make friends, I couldn't stand hall monitors. I could handle bullies because at least I could understand them, but I could never understand the motivation of a kid turning a place of joy into a place of law and order. And the gap.
Whoa. You could never understand the mentality of a hall monitor. Someone empowered to enforce the rules. I mean, at its core, that's what a hall monitor is. Someone empowered to help to enforce the rules. You could never understand the mentality of that. You can never understand the need or necessity of rules and consequences. Well, you are the class clown, so maybe I can get that bit. You can never understand that. Bullies, you can understand. Well, I believe you there. I believe that you understand the mentality of bullies.
A place of joy into a place of law and order. And the gag is, hall monitors police white people too.
But, I mean, they're white. They don't have to follow the rules, do they?
I've heard white hall monitors call poor and working class whites ignorant and lazy.
But how can that be? I mean, white people are all on the same side, unless they speak up and become bad white people because they're speaking for all the other white people. And white people can't get in trouble. They can't be insulted or denigrated or set aside because of their class or anything. What are you talking about?
Ironically, the same slurs bullies use for other races. Now, I come from working class people.
Oh.
Who to this day are some of the smartest, hardest working people I know. So I was offended because, again, I realized I was a bad white person.
Oh, okay. So when you're insulted, when you feel denigrated, when you feel belittled, you're the righteous one, right? Okay. So when you feel bad, you're on the right side of things. So you have to make other people feel bad because of things they can't control. Does that make you feel, I don't know, better about yourself? Does that make you feel more empowered about yourself? Does that make you feel like you're less culpable in all the evils of the world, despite the fact that you have white skin? Does it? Maybe a little bit. And if so, doesn't that make you a bully? A little bit, maybe. Thank you. The UFO answer. Is this guy bigoted against hall monitors? Maybe. I mean, he is the class clown, so and he already said that he rebels against authority, so, you know, he's kind of predisposed. Thank you, Drew W. Ike was a desegregationist. I call BS. No, Drew, stop. Stop it. You have to listen to what he said. He said Eisenhower said a racist thing. And Eisenhower said a racist thing. Anything else is irrelevant. Anything that's happened to society or politics or law since Eisenhower is irrelevant. Eisenhower said a bad thing. So all white people are culpable. Drew, just just stop. You just need to stop and listen. Okay. But don't be silent. Don't be silent. Being silent makes you a good white person. So say what you have to say. Just don't be silent and don't disagree with this person who is speaking for you.
This isn't new either. Historically, wealthy whites called groups like the Irish, Italians, or Scots dirty whites.
But they're white. How could they be anything other than pristine and pure, even by other whites? What?
Because they were too wild, they worked the wrong kinds of jobs, they didn't have the right kinds of manners. Now, more often than not, dirty whites have tried to clean themselves up and behave for history's hall monitors. There's always been a thread of bad white people who've embraced the dirtiness of their struggle and joined their neighbors in solidarity. We should hold on to that thread.
Yeah, remember, Irish and Italian people, revel in your inherent dirtiness as white people. Wait, did I just... Is that what I just heard him say? Is that what he was promoting? Yeah, you know, all you dirty white people, embrace the fact that you're dirty white people. What the hell is he talking about?
However tiny. As Southerners, we...
Okay, Humble Clay points out, makes racist comment. You know what? At this point, if not an individual in the cumulative, yeah, makes racist comment. I'm actually amazed he hasn't used the word privilege yet, or marginalized, or white supremacy. I mean, he's talked about the KKK. KKK by itself is just an organization. He hasn't talked about the concept thereof yet. So, I mean, I'm trying to think. Did he say it at the beginning with the Kamau Bell thing? I don't remember. I'll have to look back maybe. Anyway.
We have an intimate relationship with the land, the dirt. In fact, when we want to talk about hard work, we even say things like, you got to roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty.
Wait, Irish people and Italians have a connection to the dirt? I don't do this very often. I'm going to back up a little bit because I want to make sure I didn't misunderstand something.
Hold on to that thread, however tiny. As Southerners, we have an intimate relationship with the land.
Oh.
The dirt.
Oh.
In fact, when we want to talk about hard work, we even say things like, you got to roll your sleeves up and get your hands dirty.
Okay, Southerners. Okay, now we're talking about geography. We're not talking about ethnicity. Okay, I just want to make sure I'm on the right page here. Okay, Southerners. Okay.
Man, I wish we had that energy for working against white supremacy in the world.
Oh, white supremacy. There we go. Okay, bingo. Space right there. White supremacy. So far I have white supremacy, childhood or family anecdote, free space, word salad, and makes racist comment. Oh boy.
Because for a people that love meritocracies, we have not been pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps in racial justice work.
Racial justice. Oh, that's not a square. Yeah, okay. No.
Now, by now you might be thinking, well, just like a classroom, aren't bullies and hall monitors in the minority? What about the majority of white people? What about the rest of the class?
Yeah, tell us about the rest of the class. Oh, wait, I mean, white people aren't a class. They're a demographic. Was that wordplay, or is he just continuing this class clown analogy? Thank you, Blake Becker. He said the thing, Drunkle. Yes, he said the thing. Right on the money, so to speak.
And I'm sure the majority of the white people you know are diversity-loving, inclusive people who stand against racism. And decades of survey data show us that racial attitudes of whites have improved over the years. The problem is racist policies have largely stayed the same, or in many cases gotten worse.
Racist policies. I'd love you to name some. That one servant of Satania says, Scribe Light makes something about race for no reason. White bullies and white hall monitors. You know what? That is a good point. So I will fill in that one as well. That is a good argument. And thank you, Corey Suzuki. Isn't pulling up by bootstraps racist? Is it? I don't. I don't know, honestly. I'm sure someone could find a way to turn it into such. I've seen that happen several times. The alchemy of offense is wide and varied, so it's possible. Okay, I forget where we are. I'm going to back up a second again. I don't usually do this very often, but I just want to make sure I don't miss anything.
Inclusive people who stand against racism.
Right.
And decades of survey data show us that racial attitudes of whites have improved over the years. The problem is racist policies have largely stayed the same, or in many cases gotten worse.
Okay, racist policies like what? Specifically. I mean, I don't disbelieve that there could be such things, but you have to get specific. Just saying it. So tell me, what are the policies? You're getting into policy now. What's the policy?
We now have what sociologist Bonilla Silva describes as racism without racist.
What?
Well, how did we get here?
I have no idea how we got here. Racism without racist. Bonilla Silva. I have no idea who that is. And I have a distinct feeling you're not going to tell us anything else. But again, he's taking from someone else. That's cultural appropriation, guys. I said I would do it again if he did it again. And as far as I'm concerned, he did it again. So cultural appropriation, taking it from there. Oh boy, we are so close. Now, we can't get a D bingo, unfortunately, because he didn't trigger me in the first 30 seconds. Nothing made me go kablooey in the first 30 seconds. So, oh boy, this is going to be a tough one, because that one actually intersects, for lack of a better phrase, with two of our best bingo chances right now. So we might be already out of luck, but we'll see. There's still a few minutes left. There's 5 minutes left. You could say a lot of things here.
During the civil rights era, white people saw ourselves in a mirror through the violent images we saw on the paper and on TV. We didn't like what we saw.
White people saw ourselves. So you know how all white people thought because you're white, and you know how all white people think because all white people think the same way because they're white. And that's not racist. Okay.
So we distanced ourselves from those bad white people and created a culture where not seeing race became a way to be good in the world.
Oh, colorblindness. Right. Colorblindness is bad. We have to assess people on the basis of race, right? We have to consider someone's race when evaluating them. Otherwise, we are ignoring their lived experience. Their lived experience, which we can determine, obviously, by their skin color. We can look at someone and know exactly what kind of life they lead, the quality of them as a person, their value in society, and so on, because of their skin color. That is what we have to, that is the correct thing to do. Got it.
And that's how we got the colorblind classroom. So whereas home monitors wear whiteness to get goods, the colorblind classroom wears whiteness to be good.
And isn't making race an irrelevant factor in assessing someone what we hope to achieve? I can't count how many times I've asked this question or made that statement in some way, shape, or form on past videos. Isn't that where we want to go? Isn't that the core message of Dr. King's I Have a Dream speech? You know, that someone be judged on the content of their character and not the color of their skin. Isn't that where we want to go? Why is the concept, why is the principle of colorblindness so vilified? Of all the things that I've come across in my videos and everything else, that's the one thing that always just breaks my brain more than anything else. What are you asking for when you vilify the idea of dismissing race as a value factor? What are you asking for? What kind of world do you want to live in where you dismiss that as somehow bad or uneducated or ignorant or something? What do you have to say about the sentiments professed by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. when you say that? Anybody who dismisses the principle of colorblindness and then goes on to quote Dr. King, and I don't know if he's going to do it here, but I'll tell you, by the time we get to the end of this, I wouldn't be surprised if he did, completely fails, in my opinion.
And we show our goodness as non-racist by blaming white bullies, closing our eyes to race, or by shrinking in shame or silence to show our agreement with its badness.
Right. So not saying anything about someone who is racist is bad. Obviously, agreeing with someone who's racist is bad. But if you don't say anything because you're not interested, you're letting them speak for you, regardless of your personal opinion. Obviously, you are assenting to someone else's opinion if you don't wish to engage. Okay, got it.
Whiteness here is worn like a uniform.
Says you.
But our silent seriousness has meant that we don't have anything serious to say, even when we do want to speak about race.
I completely agree with you in relation to you.
In 2006, for example, 100 middle-class white parents volunteered to be part of a study where they would talk to their children openly about race.
Wow, 100 middle-class parents. 100? That sounds like an extensive survey. And they all agreed to talk to their children about race. Okay, well, what was this study aiming to find?
And what's most interesting about that study is not the findings, but the fact that the study never happened.
So there were no findings?
Only 6 out of the 100 parents were able to have open conversations with their children about race.
Were able to?
The others either dropped out saying, I just couldn't bring myself to do it, or I didn't have the words, or if I did, I reverted back to colorblind language like we're all just the human race.
Oh, God forbid we all default back to the colorblind language of we're all just the human race. So 6 of those 100 parents made race a factor, and the other 94 decided it was irrelevant or didn't make any sense, or I don't know. They didn't want to like start divvying people up by skin color. I can't say. I can't read the minds of 94 unknown parents, but apparently our speaker can, and he can indict all 94 of them as being good whites.
As a class clown, what always bothered me about the silence of the classroom was that goodness was about conformity, replacing thinking for oneself with the approval of groupthink.
Groupthink. Groupthink in a classroom. I don't know what your teachers were doing. Okay? I mean, the best teachers teach you how to think. They don't teach you what to think, how to assess things, how to examine things. Not slotted into this is all there is, unless we're talking about mathematics, because oftentimes that's kind of how it is. But outside of that, yeah, I don't know what classrooms you were working in, dude. I really don't. As a class clown, which you keep bringing up as though that somehow gives you some kind of special insight or forgives you of your sins or something. What were your grades like as the class clown?
And the problem with shame and colorblind goodness is that they are like emotional straitjackets.
Shame and colorblind goodness. Okay, what have you been doing this entire time except shaming anyone who doesn't behave the way you do? What have you been doing this entire time but shaming anyone who cares about the rules or the rule of law or law and order, as you brought it up? Shame. You want to start criticizing people who use shame at this point. Okay. And then colorblind. I've already said my piece on the colorblind thing.
Tying our hands and covering our mouths when it comes to race.
Okay, so everybody in that audience should have shouted white power then? I keep coming back to your first example because that's your prime example. That was your thesis statement. White people not shouting out white power are doing it wrong. Right? they should have been shouting out white power? Which is it?
The problem is we've been bad students of racism.
Oh.
Not only have we not done our homework, but we've been working on the wrong assignment.
Oh, okay.
Our goodness.
Oh, our goodness. Oh, I can't wait for that. Thank you, John Miller. Has anyone seen this guy's comedy routine? I suspect he is pretty awful with the kind of material they need. Better class clowns. With this kind of material. Yeah, as the class clown, I don't know. He says he was. I mean, if he was the class clown of his class was pretty easily won over, I guess. Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. He's a clown, all right. He's something. But okay, goodness, right. We focus on our goodness as white people because not as human beings trying, generally speaking, to do the best you can and be the best person you can. Okay, tell me about goodness.
Instead of listening and learning to the voices of those experiencing racism and then joining them in fighting it, we've been working on another project altogether.
Right. So I should assume that was the Pepper Jack talking. I should assume the experience, the temperament, the life story of someone based on their skin color. Right? That's what I'm supposed to assume. I'm supposed to defer to anyone who isn't of my race because they obviously have knowledge I don't have because of the color of their skin. And I have to assume they have lived a tortured life, that their skin color inherently makes them a target, that their skin color inherently makes them someone I am to defer to and pity, while assuming that my skin color puts me in a position, unwanted as it is, above them. Is that what I am to understand? Oh, ye bad white person.
And I would know. Because I've spent most of my life trying really hard to be a good white person.
Oh, really? A good white person? Huh. And you're going to tell us, of course, that was all wasted time because now you're a bad white person and so much better for the effort.
I love making people laugh, and I pride myself on having friends from all walks of life and from all around the world. But eventually I realized that my goodness made me feel good, but it wasn't doing much for making the world good.
Did you just tell us you have a black friend? I mean, in the abstract. Did you just tell us that you have friends from all over the place, so that cures you of any suspicion? Did you just do that?
And my goodness felt lifeless in the face of mass incarceration and the racial wealth gap, immigrant rights and police brutality. And it feels lifeless now when I see the way that whiteness is killing white people too.
Okay, he brought up the racial wealth gap. Is that the wage gap? I mean, the wage gap is usually in reference to men versus women. I mean, it is a wage gap, I suppose. Okay, I'll leave that to you guys. I'll circle it just for the sake of being considerate. Okay. He used a lot of buzzwords there.
So the opioid epidemic, suicide rates, and white poverty, you see, the goodness of non-racism is no match for the badness of racism.
Yeah, if I had another word salad spot, I'd fill that one in too.
We are living through another mirror moment in history.
Uh-huh.
Through the shrinking white population and the rise of social media, white people are looking at our robes of whiteness once again.
We are. Oh. Okay, so are you speaking for all white people? Because someone told me I should be suspicious of anyone speaking for all white people. Or I should speak out against those who would speak for all white people. So are you speaking for all white people in what they're doing or thinking or saying? I've been told I shouldn't believe such people or support them.
And our closets are mostly full with the masks of bullies,
what?
The stiff shirts of hall monitors, or the uniforms of the colorblind classroom. So it's time we get some new clothes.
Whoa. Okay.
Because we do not choose the skins we're born with, but we do choose how we'll wear them.
You've spent the last 15 minutes telling us how we are to assess people simply on the basis of their skin color, regardless of their character. I mean, if you're walking down the street and you see someone of a specific race, how are we to first assess them? Well, in your world, by race, to assume their lived experience, to assume their quality of life, to assume their position in society, not on the basis of how they behave, because that's irrelevant, but on what they look like. You're not talking about merit. You're not talking about character. You don't get to ride the line or split that hair by saying the cloak of whiteness or anything like that. No, you don't. Does a black person wear a cloak of whiteness? If whiteness is independent of one's individual skin color, well, then it's an ideology, isn't it? It's a way of thinking that is not inherent to one's skin color. But you haven't separated that idea because you call it by skin color. Skin color is the end-all, be-all. You are racist.
I've been thinking a lot about the class clown as a metaphor for how can be better bad white people and turning a mirror back on the lies and stupidity of white supremacy in all its roles.
Yeah, you've been thinking really hard on how to elevate your role as the class clown to some kind of, I don't know, court seer or something? Some kind of elevated mindset above everyone else because you don't take life seriously and you rebel against people, but that's okay because you're the class clown. Yeah, there might be some merit to that as an observer of life and everything else and as someone who critiques life and so on. You're not that guy. In this example, in this presentation, you're not that guy. You are not the class clown. You are a court cleric.
You see, it wasn't until I started speaking up about injustice in the world that I became a bad white person.
Oh, okay. Okay. Good white people never ever speak up about injustice. All right? Good white people never speak up about injustice. Okay, so every police officer is a bad white person. Right? Every white police officer is a bad white person. Every white prosecutor is a bad white person. Every white defense attorney is a bad white person. Oh, okay. Well, I guess there are a lot of bad white people out there, huh? Wow. I guess that's what you'd say, right?
People love clowns that make them laugh.
I do love clowns that make me laugh. It's curious that I don't really have any particular love for your comedy right now. I wonder why that is.
They kill clowns that make them think.
They kill clowns who make them think. Well, I know this is going to sound terrible, but you on that score are going to live a very, very long life.
But I've also thought about several teachers along the way during my class clown years who pulled me aside at the end of the year and they said, Travis, even though you disrupted class a lot, you also brought us a lot of joy.
Okay, that is a story that didn't happen. I'm calling that one right now. Anecdote that probably never happened. That's a bit too self-serving and too on the nose to everything else he said about himself to this point, not to be suspicious.
And that's a tension I'm still living with today, and one I want to encourage you to embrace. Find ways to bring joy to the world through your disobedience.
Uh-huh.
Because I believe every one of us has a little spark of rebellion inside of us that gives us freedom to speak back to the world. And I know that there is comfort and security in hiding in the robes of whiteness, but there's greater freedom in throwing off those robes, robbing you of a voice in the world.
How do I throw off the robes of the skin I'm born with and can do nothing about, and people are going to judge me on absent any other information about me, given the worldview that you have spent the last 16 minutes professing? You're going to assume my inherent flaw before I prove to you I'm a bad white person. I mean, that would have to be the process, right? If you came across me on the street or something. I mean, obviously, you know what kind of person I am by my skin color, but now am I going to bring myself to your level by proving to you that I'm not the kind of white person that you automatically and inherently have to assume I am until I prove my innocence? Right?
So find your voice.
Okay.
Be rebellious.
Yeah.
Be bad white people.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wow. Boy, I feel enlightened. Don't you all? Okay, well, I've said my bit. And as far as the bingo cards are concerned, let's go over it one more time. Plays victim. I didn't hear anything that inherently made him sound like he was playing the victim. He was playing the sage more than anything else. School to prison pipeline didn't come up. White supremacy said explicitly. Childhood family anecdote, yes. Microaggressions, never brought up. Systemic, I don't think he ever said the word. Takes credit for something done by others in their demographic. He didn't take credit. He did reference as though that was emblematic of everyone else. So I could be on the fence on that one. Attempt to coin a new buzzword, didn't hear that. Equity, never said. Rape culture, never mentioned. Toxic, never said. Anecdote that probably never happened, yes. Free space, yes. Leaves out vital context. He didn't give us the names of the studies or the sources of his information, so I'm going to circle that one as well. Speaker should not be in current occupation or position. Well, I don't know what his occupation is or his position. He says he's the class clown, but I'm assuming he's talking in reference to the past, so that's not something he's currently doing. I don't know if he's a comedian. If he actually does brand himself as a comedian, I might be willing to circle that one simply because I didn't laugh once during the entire thing, and I'm the only judge of what is funny in my world. Marginalization, never brought it up. Privilege, I was really surprised he never brought up. Make something about race, etc. for no reason. Sure. Wage gap, need to bring up a wage gap. Patriarchy, no. Makes racist comment, yes. Word salad, yes. You didn't trigger me in the first 30 seconds. Cultural appropriation, I called that one. Gratuitous pausing for effect, I didn't get anything out of that. So that's where we're at, guys, with the bingo card. So again, close, very close. If he just said the word equity, right? If he brought up some occupation that completely was contradicted by his statements, sure, and toxic. If he had zapped me in the first 30 seconds, or if he coined a buzzword, we might have been there. We seem very close. He never used the word equity. I mean, I'm happy to be corrected, but he never did. So anyway, guys, we're going to go to you guys for the next few minutes, just to round out things at about the 15-minute mark after the hour. So if you have any statements, observations, corrections, any arguments to make for things that should be filled up on the bingo card that I didn't cite, by all means, put them in the chat now. Let's see. Decode. I don't believe these types of people want to end racism. I believe they want to end white on black racism, but that's as far as it goes. They want their own supremacy. I think of a kind. I mean, they also want to have a market share on being a speaker of some kind, a prophet of some kind, a consultation of some kind on how to be a good white person, to exploit white guilt as an enlightened one. There's also that. I mean, I don't know if this guy has a profit motive. I have no idea. But there are plenty of people that do. So this type of thing isn't unfamiliar. That one servant of Satania. So how are these considered bad white people when most of white people are bad white people by those standards? Are we really going to hold a tiny minority as a standard for good? Well, as I take a drink of water, if you believe our speaker, that tiny minority is speaking for the rest of us, and none of us are saying anything about it. You know, that really, really large block of white supremacist lobbyists in DC right now, they're all speaking for us because they're white and we don't say anything. you know, all that political leverage the KKK has today. Yeah, it's a thing, guys. Graph Spree Scribelight, did you hear the Floyd family and Democrats are begging the UN to occupy America and confiscate firearms for both cops and civilians? I could believe people would be saying that. I didn't hear it myself, but okay. Vera of Ashmanite, Scribelight, is there a sense of irony that he looks like a skinhead and is talking against racism, or is he compensating for all the racist thoughts going through his head? I think he's compensating for a receding hairline. I can't hold him to account for that. But if somebody brought up like, hey, aren't you a skinhead? Yeah, no. Like I say, I almost never, unless they bring it up themselves, unless it's part of their argument or somehow, I rarely ever bring up the appearance of the speaker. It's irrelevant to me what they're saying, the ideas they're putting out there. So unless they are making themselves the example or something about their makeup is the example, like that lady who brought up her hair as the center of the universe a few TEDx's back, well, that's fair game. And if he brought up his jeans jacket, sure, or his bald head, sure. But otherwise, unless they open the door, it really doesn't mean anything to me in the grand scheme. And I know that was a long answer to a silly question, but all the same. Well, not a silly question, but a facetious question, I think. Maybe. Nothing for you here. If you took all the white supremacists in the world, you couldn't even fill a proper football stadium. Fact. Actual white supremacist declaratory? Probably not. I mean, the last I checked, the actual membership of just the grandest example, so to speak, the KKK, maybe numbers, and I think I might be being generous here in my recollection, anywhere from 5 to 15,000 people. It's probably less than 15,000, but somewhere in there. There's a range of 5 to 15,000 actual declared card-carrying, so to speak, members of the KKK. And yeah, you would have a hard time filling up your average football stadium with the number of actual KKK members these days. So when they keep conjuring up the image of the KKK, it is a very weak example as a threat or something that is at all relevant in any meaningful way in the here and now. Let's see. Grizzly McThornbody, I found this guy as comprehensive as a Bernie bro. I don't know how comprehensive a Bernie bro is necessarily, but subpar genitalia. If the UN tries to confiscate my firearms, those blue helmets make good targets. But no. I'm not going to talk about shooting. No. I don't know. I don't know what the UN has said or what they've done about anything. The UN has about as much teeth as a 80-year-old with gingivitis. So I'm not too concerned about the UN. I'm not even a gun owner or a gun enthusiast, but as far as that's concerned, sounds like a lot of hot air to me. Let's see. Let me make sure I didn't miss something here. Joe Fab says, look, there are people out there making light of things like this or relevant, but it heavily outnumbers the ones wanting all cops dead or gone or violent thing to happen. I'm not quite sure how to read that. I mean, I don't believe that the people who want terrible things to happen to other people just because they're part of an institution or they wear a uniform or anything else, I don't think the number of people that actually want that to happen outnumber normal, rational, skeptical people. I mean, a squeaky wheel gets the grease, as they say, and we're hearing a lot of squeaky wheels lately, but I do not believe, just like our speaker here suggested at the beginning, that somehow someone saying something controversial loudly thus speaks for an entire demographic or an entire population or anything like that. You know, I'll believe it when it gets to the ballot box and the majority of people have an opportunity to actually decide how they want their community to operate. You know, until then, it's a lot of loud noises and a lot of screaming and shouting. And any rational arguments to be had are being drowned out. So we're not going to get to some kind of reasonable conversation about what's going on until the excess noise dies down a bit. Let's see. This is Kyle. So how far do you think this defund the police BS will go? I don't know. I mean, there are some cities and city councils that'll probably go to the mat to try to do it. I don't know how you ever get to the point of saying my city does no longer want law enforcement, period. They actually mean disband and or defund completely. I do not envy the residents of such a population or such a city or town that actually decides to do that as a result of these protests. We read a story last night on Lords of the Night, by the way, which you can find tonight on Ranting Monkeys channel at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We read a story last night that talked about, I mean, the headline said, this city disbanded its police department. Here's what happened next. But they didn't disband their police department. They didn't get rid of law enforcement. They just got rid of all the corrupt police officials and then rebuilt the department with vetted and fresh people. You know, and the instances where towns have gotten rid of their police departments wasn't a matter of ideology so much as it was a matter of budget. They couldn't afford it. And most of those instances that they brought up were like these tiny little hamlets, you know, tiny little towns or itsy bitsy little cities that don't have a lot of income, and keeping on staff, you know, 7 or 8 police officers at whatever they were making a year just wasn't financially feasible for the town. So then they deferred to the county sheriff or something else because they couldn't afford it. Not because they didn't think police were necessary, because they deferred to the sheriff. They obviously thought law enforcement was necessary. So I don't know that we're going to see some major metropolitan city actually get rid of its police force. I don't see how that can happen. Now, reform it, okay, restaff it, reevaluate funding and so on, sure. But the entire absence of police officers, I would be surprised. And like I say, I do not envy any city, the population thereof, that ends up being caught in a situation where their elected leaders decide to remove law enforcement from the equation. I don't envy them at all. That is going to be a very bad situation in my estimation. But guys, we are over time, and so I got nothing else to say, and I got to go take a break. And actually I have to go back to work. So everyone, thank you for joining me on this odyssey of edumacation. I hope it was interesting. This video was recorded about a year ago, but the ideas being professed, I should say, are not new, they're not novel, and they haven't aged at this point. They're still being put out there, so take that for what you will. Thank you guys for joining me. Thank you for your attendance and your participation. Thank you so much for your generosity, those of you that donated. It'll all go towards horrible things I'll put in my body, like goldfish and Jack Daniels. Look out for another TEDx probably tomorrow. I'll let you know. I've got a couple of lined up that will hopefully be entertaining, if nothing else. But otherwise, guys, thank you for coming out. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.